hitting the button because it's starting the show and we're starting off pissed. I'm hungover, so because it's Las Vegas, and what do we do on Monday nights, man? Welcome to Bid Nerds, everyone. My name is John Polnik. I am your host of Bid Nerds. I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada, literally 300 feet from the above the Las Vegas Strip. I'm thinking about jumping off my balcony right now and getting a little closer to it. My partner is laughing at me from San Francisco Bay, Michael Deeb. How are you today? Better than me, I'm sure.
I'm excellent because the audience thinks you drank last night and you're hungover. You have a cigar hangover.
Oh, my God. Like, it's so much worse. I had, like, 4 sips of, some kind of whiskey, and I'm just like, the cigars, though, just kick my ass.
Yeah.
Cheers to Chef William over at Red Rock Country Club, who was kind enough to drive me home last night in his GT3 that he had just gotten. And I'm like getting in the car and I'm going, bro, whatever you do, this is not the night to show off. Take it easy, because you do not want to clean what I'm going to get all over your Alcantara if you punch it. And he looks at me, he's like, I'm glad you said that because I was going to hit it on the on-ramp. I'm like, yeah, I know, because that's what I would have done. But I don't see rubber floor mat, so I'm telling you, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So I'm feeling it this morning. My bids might be a little off today. I'm going to be like, but whatever. Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is the show where you get your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day. Look, we pick the cars from Cars and Bids, bring a trailer. We got some new auction sites coming up like Radwood for sale and Petrolicious and all these guys, Pcar Market even sometimes. So we try to find the cars that are the most interesting ones to talk about in the day. We make predictions about what we think those cars are going to actually hammer for when they hit the auction block. And our predictions suck. I mean, we don't know what we're doing. To a point, we keep track of it for some reason and like go over it later.
What are you talking about? We're amazing at this. Are you kidding? We have our own show.
We do. It's like 4 people listen to it and everything. That's including my dog. So, because she's
and our wives.
And our wives. So there it is. That's all we got. And they don't even like it. I never see any thumbs up from them. So this is the Bid Nerds, guys. Nerd out with us. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button while we ramble on. And, the first thing we always do when we start at the show is we talk about how poorly we did the day before. So let's go over our predictions from yesterday. And as soon as we're done with that, we'll get to the big car of the day. We've got a M718. That's a wide-body Porsche 964 C4. And this car has us all getting excited. That might actually perk me up more than this cup of coffee. So let's get to that soon. But first, yesterday. How was yesterday's bids? What did we do?
We were
yesterday.
JP, we were actually pretty good yesterday.
We were good yesterday? All right,
yeah, I think just that modified Cayenne was a surprise. But our star car of the day was the 76 Porsche 912. The 912 from 1976, that's kind of a one-off, where we have the sort of impact bumper cars that has the 912 motor. Just a really neat example.
Let's face it, it's not a 912 motor. It's a Volkswagen Vanagon motor is what's in that thing. It's a Type 4 VW. Right. Come on.
Right. This car had been refurbished a few years back, and you pointed out it's got some cool details. This is like a non-Carrera, so non-rear flares, slick roof, no sunroof. Beautiful in this, it looks a little Bahama yellowish, but I don't know. It's a different shade. I'm not sure. School bus yellow is a good description. But it has a motor swap, right? So it doesn't have the original matching numbers Porsche motor. It's got a Type 4 motor. So anyways,
which if you're going to swap it, why not putting something big in it? That's what you said too. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah, I still don't understand why you would drive that car and not expect everybody to roll up on you and want to race, and you can't race them because you got a Volkswagen motor in there. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think you got to have a 6-cylinder. So I agree with you. Like, somebody should have gone to the junkyard and bought an old 911 motor. Any 911 motor would do. So,
would you put a water pumper in it? Would you put a 996 M96 in there?
No. It's got to be air cooled.
All right. So not any Porsche 911 motor would do.
No, but any real 911 motor.
Now, come on now.
So I said 30,000, which I thought was a really good bid. You said 32,000, which is rare because you very rarely jump over me. JP, you were $500 off a Yahtzee. I don't know if you saw that. It's sold for $32,500, but we were right there. Congratulations to the seller. You got all the money for that car. And congratulations to the buyer. you bought it cheap enough to be able to throw that motor out and still afford to go buy a 911 motor and make a real car out of that. So good luck.
All right.
Okay, so the one that caught me out yesterday was this 2003 M5. It had like 126,000 miles on it on cars and bids, but this car was triple black with no stories, no bad Carfax, didn't look like it had any paint work. You did expertly point out that there was no comment of recent service, particularly to the Vanos system, which is the induction system. Am I right? Isn't that something to do with the electronic valves that allow air into the motor? Yep. Thank you. Okay, cool. So,
it's like a Vario Ram type thing, yeah.
Right. So, anyways, I thought this car was going to bring over 20,000. In fact, I stepped on my own junk and said 23. You very smartly said 19,000, and this car was only bid to 17,500. So it's possible that my bid was in line with the consignor's, smoked out version of what his car was worth. But I'd say your bid was more reflective of what the market would yield for a car that doesn't have receipts of recent service for a problematic area that is not inexpensive to fix. It could be catastrophic. So, JP, you won that one too.
And let's face it, it was on Cars and Bids. Cars and Bids and BMWs do not mix. It's just like they don't bring big money there for some reason. And they're enthusiast cars, so it does make you'd think otherwise. I suspect, and I was thinking about this yesterday after the show, is like there is a direct connection between Hoovies Garage, and Doug Demuro, right? They're simpatico, they're buddies, Hoovie literally calls Doug Demuro Big Daddy on his show. I mean, that's a little weird, Big Daddy. It's like,
nerds. Yeah, never gonna happen.
You need to ease back on that, dude. That sounds a little, but okay, whatever. And I mean, if you've ever watched Hoovie's Garage, I don't know. I mean, if you look at all the thumbnails of all his videos that he's made, like half of them are BMWs are the biggest pile of crap. Fill in the blank. And, he's always talking about how horrible it is to fix them. We're talking about Hoovie's Garage here. He has his mechanic, the Wizard, and then he had to get a separate mechanic just to work on his BMWs because the Wizard guy didn't want to do it. He's like, I don't want to touch these pieces of junk. So he found some guy that he calls the Ninja. Racist. But it's just nonstop with the BMW suck thing. And I'm kind of with them and I like BMW. So anyways, there you go. Sorry about the Hoovies thing. Now we get to put Hoovie's Garage in our metadata, and that'll hopefully get us some views. All right.
Can Hoovie talk while Doug Demuro drinks a glass of milk? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, right. Putting those two in the same room together, Hoovie, Tyler Hoovie, just like, ah. Anyways, let's move on to the next car. What do we got next?
All right. So we jumped back over to Bring a Trailer, JP, and we looked at a 97 Ford F-250 HD. This thing is beautiful. This is diesel. It's 4-wheel drive.
That's pretty cool.
It's got a super crew cab. I think they call it super cab or something in Ford speak. 27,000, I think, original miles. JP, this thing is barely broken in. I mean, it looks, by all accounts, brand new. The biggest knock on this car is that it's in Kansas, which is technically halfway. Is halfway to anywhere, But anyway, and we were all over this car. I said 50,000. You said 55. This car split the difference at 52,000. So I beat you by $500. Or I beat a draw by 500.
Whenever we make fun of someone in Las Vegas on the Strip that's doing something lame when they're clearly a tourist and they don't, it's like when you go down on the Strip and you see the people walking around with the yard tall margarita, the plastic slushy sugar margaritas, and they've got shorts and the white socks and sneakers and stuff, and they're walking around just marveling at everything. It's always like, oh look, Topeka, and that's where this car is from. It was like it's the go-to middle of the country.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Topeka, Kansas is this like it's like the Omaha of Kansas.
So there it is. You could have bought this car and then brought it back to Vegas and got yourself all the yard-long slushy margaritas you want. All right. What do we got next? I think this next one. Oh man, I don't know if I want to talk about this next one.
The 2010 Volkswagen Jetta TDI. So
you're one away.
You're one away.
This one doesn't hurt my heart.
You're one away from the stone in your shoe. This little car is badass. This is called the Cup Edition. So this is a TDI. My only knock, Volkswagen, please, when you make a car that looks that cool and drives that cool, give it a freaking manual transmission. This thing has one of these little DCTs in it or something, and it's just a bummer. It's got the Thunder Bunny front end. Either the consignor or the previous owner of this car put full-on Cayenne 6-piston brakes in the front, 4-piston brakes in the rear, and then put it on these fake BBS mesh wheels with the matte black treatment. And this car looks the business, man. It is sick. Yeah. And I bet you fill this car up once or twice a month and could drive it, as far as you could possibly imagine. You were saying you took one from Seattle to San Francisco?
I took one from Seattle to no. Well, yeah. So we took one from Seattle, San Francisco on a single tank of fuel, and then we took a regular Jetta TDI from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon, via Miami and 20 other stops. God rest his soul, our good friend. God rest his soul, our friend Derek Tanasalachai, our good friend who was passed tragically a couple of years ago, young guy. He had a GTI that he did the same brake treatment on. I remember driving that thing and hitting the brakes once, and it was like, it almost ripped the seatbelts out of it. I mean, it was like, he's like, oh yeah, careful with the brakes. I'm like, yeah, as I'm trying to get my collapsed, rib cage put back together. Oh my God, that car stopped. It was great though. What a cool car.
I miss that kid. Derek was awesome.
Man, he could drive. That guy was such a great driver. And
what an energy. Yeah, he was awesome. I love Derek. Oh, the muscle. Okay. Anyway, this car was incredible. I thought that you don't see him very often. And our car, JP, correct me if I'm wrong, had like 37,000 miles or something. Yeah. Really low miles, excellent condition. This is a bit of a unicorn. They did make 1,500 of these, but most of them have been commuted. I mean, again, this is an 11-year-old car that's it would be barely out of warranty if it was young. Yeah. Anyways, I said 19,000. You said 18,000. Again, you were $250 off of Yahtzee. Wow. JP, this car sold for $17,750. Very well sold, and I'd say very well bought.
Yeah.
So the final car of the day. JP, let me explain this to you because I don't think you have any experience in this arena. Somebody took a E1 Porsche Cayenne S and they put a lift kit and like some crossbars and some big mud and snow tires on it, and they sold it for a premium. You wouldn't understand this, but I can explain it to you because I'm a fucking nerd. So anyways, I said 24,000 and you bet the under at 23. Not only were you wrong, but you were like on the wrong side of me. This car sold for a whopping $30,500. And the irony is JP has sold a couple of these and loved it. Absolutely was fawning over it. And you bet the under and it sold over me, which is hilarious that you got this one wrong. That's like when you win on an alpha. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. The thing that really pains me on this is that this car had how many miles? 117,000 miles?
Yeah.
I had in my garage, I was selling one for a friend. I had this a 2008 black on black and hazelnut. So it had that amazing two-tone interior. One of the nicest interiors that they made in E1 Cayenne. Right. In perfect condition with 78,000 miles. So like 40,000 fewer miles than this one. And we sold it like cheap. I'm not even going to say how much we sold it cheap, but let me tell you, $20-something thousand less than this thing sold. And, I have a 2008 Cayenne myself. I have and mine's a manual, but it's the base. And I did all this stuff. I put the wheels and the tires and the roof rack and all that stuff on it. And it is going to sell and bring a trailer. But I don't know why I didn't just do this to the black one too. God, I left literally tens of thousands of dollars on the table. And I think Dan, the fella who bought it from us, I think he watches the show. And if you're watching, God bless you. He even said, frankly, that this is what he's going to do. He's like, yeah, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to make a Trans-Siberian,
knockoff
replica out of it. And I hope he does, and I can't wait to see what it looks like because God, this thing looks so good. Those are the right wheels.
We should mention again, JP, that this car has what you pointed out astutely, has a 2.5-inch lift kit, which helps accommodate these like 20-inch wheels and 33-inch tires. Otherwise, those might not fit if it's
they
not
would
lifted.
not fit. Yeah, the biggest you could put is a 265, 65, 18. So to get a wheel that size, you're definitely spending multiple thousands to get it up there. So I mean, call it $3,000-$4,000 for the wheels, another $3,000 to $5,000 to get it that high. But you're still, still with 117,000 miles. I'm hoping this bids well for my Cayenne that's going to be hitting Bring a Trailer, because mine is unlike this one. Mine is a stick, and we have not seen a base manual Cayenne on Bring a Trailer ever. There have been a ton of Cayenne GTSs with manuals, and we've seen those bring big money, but we've actually seen them get a little soft. They are not bringing the money that they used to, but these ones with the big tires and all that stuff are going up, and it doesn't even matter if they have a manual. So I'm kind of hoping for
a couple of years ago, Godden Classic sent me to Amelia Island, and I worked for Porsche Classic out there at Works Reunion at Amelia Island, I think in 2018. And they had a special category on the lawn that was just for 911s and Cayennes that had all these like liftings and things. So I mean, this thing of the Safari stuff is really the latest proliferation of old air cooled, like mostly SCs, and obviously like especially E1 Cayennes that you could pick up for nothing. And you were saying the 6-cylinders are probably the best value because they're the easiest to maintain and run for like a period of time, especially if you can find one with a stick, which is really cool to drive.
Well, and this one this one's an S, so it's a non-turbo, and they're hyper reliable as well. It's just the cost of maintenance is exponentially more than the 6-cylinder ones.
Because of the V8.
Because of the V8 and like water cooled alternators and just crazy expensive shit. Fuel pumps that cost $3,000 to replace. Right. But compared to a turbo, that's cheap. The turbo stuff is put another, order of magnitude on the cost of keeping those. So a lot of people building these off-road turbos just doesn't make sense. You're pulling all kinds of muck and dirt into the air intake. That's got to starve them. I mean, an S makes sense. And frankly, because when you're off-roading, the thing that people don't really take into account is off-roading. It's not like in the pictures where they're jumping them across dunes and stuff like that. Usually it's crawling over obstacles. Taking your time and making sure you're not, destroying your car. And so a little bit of low end torque, you don't need the top end power because too much low end torque when you're trying to crawl over something breaks traction. So you want just enough power to get the wheels to grab and pull you over a log or a rock or an obstacle or something like that. Right. So I think the 6-cylinder is the better one. And with the reduction, with the electronic reduction in the differential that these vehicles offer, they're fantastic goats. I mean, they just climb over stuff. So anyways.
Man. It's going to be one of my future. I can feel it.
Yeah, that is a really, really cool car. All right. Well, there it is, guys. That was yesterday. So Michael Deeb and I were pretty close on a lot of those. And
you had 3 and I had 2.
I'm happy to see how close we were on our bids. We weren't just like under over. Good. We were actually pretty near to those. But today we have some really cool cars. In fact, now's the time to subscribe, tell all your friends about the YouTube channel. Get out there and spread the word. And here it is, guys. Let's get right to the cars of today because Bid Nerds is all about the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Biz and Bring a Trailer. What is our first car, Michael Deeb?
Oh man, so JP. It's no secret. Anybody that knows me knows that I have absolutely fallen head over heels in love with this particular model. It's a 1994 Porsche 911 C4 wide body, and it's literally called the wide body from the factory. That's how they describe option code M718, which is in celebration of, this is in quotation marks, 30 years of excellence. So in 1993, Porsche made this wide body and called it the 30-year Jahr, which is 30-year Jubilee. And they sold these in the European continent. And they made, of course, 911 of them, and they were numbered, which was really cool. So, and a lot of those cars were painted, or were when they released that car, the press car was viola metallic, which was a color that you could only get on that car. So a majority of the 30-year Jubilee cars were painted viola metallic, but we never got that wide body or that color in the United States. The following year, in 1994, around the rest of the world, the 993 generation of the 911 was being introduced, but Porsche was not ready to bring that car stateside. So in order to help sales for what might be, a model that would be considered a little long in the tooth, even though it wasn't here that long. Porsche introduced this special edition, and it was called the Wide Body 30 Years of Excellence, option code M718. So while they made 911 of them and they numbered them in Europe in 93, in 1994, Porsche Cars North America only brought 267 of them stateside. And so today in the United States, this is arguably one of the lowest production number 964s that they made, and is destined to become a highly collectible car. The car we're looking at here today has just 9,000 miles on it. It's offered out of Paradise Valley, Arizona. It is sort of a navy blue metallic, a midnight blue metallica, and it has a full gray interior. You can see the Cup 1 wheels. It's all-wheel drive. It's got the standard 911 air-cooled motor, which is about 247 horsepower. What is it, a 5-speed manual still? And it's got 4-piston brake calipers. It's just a beautiful car. It's a teeny bit heavy, but they drive really well. And the big changeover from the 964 from the previous generation is they went to traditional spring and shock suspension. So these cars ride beautifully. Again, this car has just 9,000 miles, and most of the other 266 of these things have a ton of miles on them because they weren't so coveted when they were first new. I think only today are they beginning to realize their collector potential, and this car could be destined for a big run here at the end of the day. So at the moment, John, it's at $98,400 on 23 bids. Talk to me about it. What do you think? Do you like these wide bodies?
Oh, man. I mean, come on. Who doesn't? The wide body 964 is just like the ultimate Porsche. I mean, it really is. That the look of this car, it's still, I mean, I love 993s. Everybody loves 993s. And for the longest time, 993s were what everybody wanted. And 964s, of course, we all know were the ugly stepchild. People just didn't want them, and they depreciated horribly. But then somewhere around 8 years ago, everybody snapped their fingers and realized, oh, wait, these actually look like 911s because they have the correct fenders, they have the nose, the upright headlights. That's what makes a 911. The 993 has kind of the slope thing, and yes, it looks more modern, but it's not as the 964 just kind of like smoothed out all the rough edges of the G body ones. And with the wide body version, there's just nothing meaner looking coming down the road. Remember when you could buy these for 30, 40 grand? I mean,
unbelievable,
all the time. And now here is this one. Gosh, the number's going to be big. It's going to be big.
I think so too. Think about this, John. In 93 and then a couple in 94, they made the RS America. So you're talking about 800 cars over 2 years. And RS Americas, especially with these low miles, would be, damn near a $200,000 car. Yeah. This car's, they only made 270 of them. I mean, they're just really rare, and it's very distinctive. I mean, it's such a good looking car. Now, the RS America, you could argue, is probably a better driving car because it's lighter weight. And it's 2-wheel drive. It's rear-wheel drive. This is a tiny bit heavier, but man, this is still a great driving car. I mean, this is, probably arguably more fun to drive than most standard Carreras and SCs, and certainly a mid-year. It is a little bit heavier, but it's going to ride real nice, and it's going to go and stop. The brakes on these things are amazing. The transmission is just like butter. And I've wanted one for a long time. We had a white one for a while at Godden. I actually think that it did not sell, and they took it. Gary probably took it to the warehouse, and he's keeping it in part of his collection. But I really wanted to buy that white one that had like 32,000 miles on it. But this car in dark blue is a looker, and I agree with you. I think it's going to go to the moon and back. So without further ado,
with our TV show that's coming out, the Porsche Road Trip on what is the network it's going to be on? It's on Chassis Network.
Chassis Media, yeah.
Chassis Media, the Chassis channel on Adam
yeah.
Carolla's network on Pluto TV coming out probably in a month or two. There's a kind of one of the things that I do. So I drove a 993 C4S on the road trip. We went up and down the whole coast to film the show. Was gone for weeks, and when I came back, we had to do I had to go back and do a bunch of pickup shots where I was driving the car and doing monologues, talking to the camera, and the C4S that I drove, they wound up selling. So I was like, oh crap. So I grabbed the keys to the 964 C4 wide body. So someone with a sharp eye will note that the wide shots, you see the C4S 993 driving down the road, and then you go to the close-ups, and there's me driving along. Someone paying attention will be able to realize that, wait, those are 964 seats, and I don't think that's a 993. So look out for that for a Porsche road trip when that comes out.
The 993 had like a full blue Metropole blue leather interior. And our C4 wide body at Godden had a black interior, which was spectacular. Yeah. So the astute eye will pick it up, and can't wait to read your comments. That's
there it is. You got to be a nerd. This is Bid Nerds 101. If you can't spot that, you're not the right kind of nerd. So beat it.
Okay, so I just have to brag about this nerd dome real quick. So as I was making my notes for this car, I looked up and I typed into the Google search bar 94 911 C4 wide body production numbers, and I got a paragraph. It says Porsche listened to their customers in 94 and introduced what the factory literally called a wide body. The 1 year production run was 267 cars with option code M718. I was like, oh, that's great stuff. And I looked, and it's from Godden Classic, which means I wrote it.
He is the wiki man, Michael Deeb, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Deeb
might be the nerdiest thing I've done on the show. I checked my notes on Google. Yeah, pretty fucking fun. Yeah.
So, you can be an authority when you're writing history. There it is. He's just making shit up on the internet. That's word. Yeah.
So now, I did. Sorry about that. So now I have to get this one right. I said 130. It's funny because the comments in the on the Bring a Trailer listing, everybody seems to think this car is going to bring 150, and I'm going to tend to agree with them. I priced our 32,000 mile car at 160, and everybody said I was nuts, and I still believe it's worth that. So this car here has got to bring 150. There is some paintwork, JP. Two of the panels don't paint meter like the rest of the car, but it doesn't have an accent on the car fact. So I still think that number is realistic. So I'm going to set the bar at 150 and force you to go over or under.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I'm going to say $155.
Good guess.
9,000 miles. That's crazy low miles. Yeah. And I mean, with high mileage narrow body 964s going for $60,000, $70,000, $80,000.
Right.
Why wouldn't a low mileage wide body one go for 2 or 3 times that?
Right. Yeah. Condition and production numbers drive the prices for these unusual 911s, and this one ticks all the right boxes. So good luck to the seller.
Not a fan of the color, and particularly the interior color is awful.
Yeah, the gray is awful. It's
about the only
it's been my experience with these cars that most of the ones I've seen that come available in Europe, the Viola metallic Jubilee cars, most of them are this purple metallic, which is really beautiful, but almost all of them have a gray interior. The coup d'etat is to get a Viola metallic with black interior, and then it's numbered. That would be
almost any exterior color with a black interior would bring significantly more money than this one will, I think.
Legit. Absolutely.
I mean, this blue is just such a pedestrian blue. It's not like a Mexico blue or some kind of crazy blue. It just looks like Honda Accord blue or minivan blue. I mean, it just doesn't jump out at you. It's just blue.
Okay, I have a question for you. If this car was this color blue, the wheels were silver, if the car came with bright red brake calipers, would that do it for you? Or that?
No, don't get me wrong. I mean, I still like the car. It's not like I wouldn't drive it. But look, the question is when you really, if to really judge a car by how. If a car is going to be badass, it has to be the car has to be a car that the bad guy in a movie would drive. And the bad guy in a movie would never drive a blue car or the star, right? I mean, just not, right? I mean, look, Bad Boys, the reason why we're fawning all over this car is because of the movie, the stupid Michael Bay movie where Will Smith is jumping a turbo version of one of these. And what color is it? It's not blue. Black. It's not, black. Beige. It's freaking black, or silver. If they were making the Matrix 5 or 10 or whatever number movie there, nobody drove a blue car in that movie, in any of those movies. They're black or silver or white. And that's the reason why those are the popular colors. Even red would be okay. But normal, if you can get the color on a minivan, and it's not a neutral color, it's not a color for a Porsche. Sorry.
Oh my God. All right, JP, let's jump over.
Those are the rules. I don't make them.
Let's jump over to cars and bids before this auction ends. It's a 2000 Honda Prelude Type SH.
Speaking of Hondas, now this car should have been blue. I mean, there you go. This is a car you would expect to be that color.
Oh my god, that's so funny. This is a no reserve auction. It's a 5-speed manual, 2.2 liter inline 4, front wheel drive. This is the Type SH, which is the 4-wheel steering, is it not, JP?
I don't know. It's a good car. Did they make 4-wheel steering in this generation?
I thought they did.
I thought it was only the earlier ones, but I don't know.
Read my notes.
I have to check in on that one.
This modification. So it's got this. The one mod is it's got the JDM Type S intake manifold, which apparently makes a few more horsepower. Pretty cool thing. 25 years. Front wheel drive car. Yeah. So it's not an all wheel drive or steering. Well, I don't read anything about it. But anyway, 200 horsepower, 150 pound-foot of torque. Active torque transfer system. I don't see anything about the steering. Well, I'm off.
Wash your car, bro. What the hell? Yeah. Look at this. What is going on, people? Job.
It's got 165,000 miles, offered out of some place they call Novi, Michigan. Well,
in Novi, Michigan, they don't have car washes, apparently.
No.
There's no excuse for a car. I mean, look, I get it. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm jumping in here. I know you're supposed to be talking about the car, but this is unacceptable, man. Who does an ad? Why does... Okay. Oh, man. This has got me fired up. Doug Demuro, look.
Yeah.
Don't let car ads like this on your platform. This is ruining your platform. You can't let an ad where the guy doesn't even bother to wipe the damn wheels down. They don't have to be immaculate, but a rag to them might be a good idea before you take pictures of the stupid thing.
Soap and warm water will work miracles.
He has a post out on Instagram today. They're all excited because they got their first Lamborghini on Cars and Bids, and that's going to be right next to a guy with a Prelude that isn't even clean at all.
Right. Yeah.
This is a mistake, guys. This is bad news. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. No reserve.
It could be a cool car, but
it could be 165,000 miles. But by all accounts, cosmetically, the car is in decent shape. It doesn't look all beat to snot, which to JP's point, it would be, you would really showcase that better if the car was clean. The front wheels are filthy, and that's pretty deplorable when you're looking to maximize your return on your investment. So anyways, car's sitting at $4,100 JP on 15 bids. Again, no reserve auction. You got anything else you want to say to this kid before he leaves money on the table?
I mean, I hope this car's a no sale, because this guy does not deserve to sell it, and Doug Demuro does not deserve to make a dime off of an ad like this.
All right, no reserve auction.
And look at this. He's another one of these dang videos where, okay, you got somebody, he's got the camera sitting so that we're seeing the dashboard while he's driving, not the road, and he's driving down a normal street with traffic. That's great, kid.
Ain't gonna happen.
This is repellent to sales, man. Nobody wants this car. I mean, some idiot might want. I like these cars. We're nerd turding all over this ad. Then let me be clear. I am not nerd turding all over
on the Prelude. Right.
Preludes are great, especially a manual one. I love this era. I think this is one of the coolest looking Preludes that they made. I mean, this is the last generation one or whatever. I don't know. I think they made another one, but it's just a spectacular car.
I thought that the top of the line of these cars came with 4-wheel steering, but anyway,
I thought those were in the SIs and the older ones in the
maybe
in the 80s and early 90s ones.
Yeah, back during this time, with my dad, it was all European cars. We weren't allowed to look at Japanese cars.
I mean, this guy's going to drive through McDonald's or something like that in his stupid video.
Absolutely,
and get a Happy Meal because he's obviously 15 years old with a driver's permit.
He put a big up in the cup.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right, JP.
32 ouncer.
$4,100 an hour to go. I'm gonna say $5,000.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet under and just say 49, and maybe he gets a couple $100 here and there.
Yep. All right. Moving on.
All right.
JP. We have been all over Saabs lately, and I found this little gem, and I really just wanted to bring it to you and say, how cool is this? Because I agree with you. I really like the Saab 900 turbos. This is the car's dad. This is the 1978 99 turbo, and there are some very cool features on this car. This is a no reserve auction offered out of Salt Lake City, Utah. It says 36,000 miles, true mileage unknown. So I'm guessing that the odometer has flipped. JP, read you my notes. I'm going to nerd out with you here for a second. Mm-hmm. Those are called 15-inch Inca alloy wheels, and they are very distinctive to this generation of the 99 Turbo. And they just, man, have they not aged well? Those are really cool looking wheels.
They're definitely period correct. We'll put it that way. Yeah.
As a Carrera guy, I really appreciate that the lower front end dam below the bumper is like a black rubber, and it has a contrast to the color of the car. This little fastback design, it looks very upright and leaning forward, almost like a sprinter in the blocks it's about to jump. This car is actually very usable. The back seat will hold adults, and that's like a rear hatch. I mean, this is a super practical, sporty little kind of do everything car. And those seats, JP, those velour red seats, when you get to them, that is a very cool design that I cannot say I'm familiar with. That's a really cool looking seat. It's pretty flat. I imagine if you're really driving the car, you're going to flop around in there and roll off of the seats into the seat next to you. But I commend Saab for doing something that was absolutely a design, risk. And today I look back on this car where I would have like scoffed at it when I was in high school. I look at that car and go, damn, that's hella cool. It still has a 2-liter turbo, not a lot of power, but I imagine you could probably work one of these to make it a fun driver. And like I said, you and I have been kind of feeling these Saabs as they've come out more and more and been offered on the platform. So again, no reserve out of Salt Lake City. Take it away, John.
Yeah, one of the things about these old European cars, and European cars have always done this. They've kind of had that look where they make a car that looks one way, and they kind of stick with that design language for a long time. Saab only made 2 or 3 different models. Like you said, this ultimately became the 900. And I had a friend, speaking of high school, in high school he had one of these, and it was pretty beat up. But he heard some kids in the high school lunchroom cafeteria, having a conversation about who had the coolest car in high school. And so shout out to my old friend Jason Kewen. I don't know whatever happened to you. Maybe you're on the Facebooks or something like that, but he heard them saying, yeah, Jason Kewen has a really nice Saab. And they're like, yeah, what year is it? And they're like, I don't know. I think it's like an 88 or something. And at the time that was like 1989. And it's a 70 something. And he would not shut up about it. Every time you saw him, he would tell you that story. Jason Kewen Saab has the coolest car in high school, and the other coolest car in high school was the kid that had the 16-valve Scirocco. Yeah, his dad owned a dealership. So no, this car too much fun. They do feel like they're built out of a solid block of steel. Saab's born from jets. There it is. Love the Saab. Not sure where the value of the. I mean, if you ask me about a 900, I could get you pretty darn close on what the value is. But these old ones, the 99s, they're in a weird place. You never see them for sale. You never see them on the road. I really have no idea what the community is going to say about this car. So I'm very curious.
I don't know. I mean, look, you don't see them very often, and this one, at least in my opinion, looks to be in pretty decent shape. Yeah. It's not mint. It's definitely spent some time outside. There is some, normal wear and tear. Those carpets are faded a little bit and all that stuff, but it's all there, and it doesn't look like it was ever smashed. Yeah. And so by that rationale, by the rarity and by, how obscure it is, you just don't see them. I wouldn't be surprised if this car brought a lot of money at the close of the auction. I mean, could it double in value from it's currently at essentially $10,000 with an hour ago? Probably not. The telltale sign is it's only 3 bids, but I still think there's some room, Jane. So I'm going to go. Oh man, it sounds like a lot now because I was hoping there'd be some late action. Yeah. I put 17,000. I'm gonna temper it down just a little bit and put 15 grand. But let me put it this way: I'm gonna put 15 grand and say that's a ridiculously good value at $15,000. Come on, man! I'd pay more for a Fiat that doesn't run.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's true. When you're gonna rolling into a Cars and Coffee or something like that with this car is definitely you're gonna be the only one there, and you gotta and to be able to get a car that you can say that's actually kind of cool and fun to drive. And with that little money, what'd you say? 15? Yeah. 15? No, it can't. 13. I'll give you a little bit of spread there. Oh, I just don't think it's going to go that far, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah, and these things are fantastic in the snow. So you can fly out there and get it and drive it home no matter where you are. So, all right, cool.
JP, look at that design. Tell me how 80s and 90s it is, and then bring cognitive dissonance to the fact that car's too old for Radwood. It wouldn't qualify.
Well, no, it would because they're a continuation car. They have the same model
so that would be
in '80.
grandfathered in.
So
Okay.
yeah, but
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, the car to bring this at would be the Targa Baja, bringing this down to Mexico. Boosting the turbo a little bit, giving it an extra poop, because even with the turbos, they were not fast at all. These are slow cars. Yeah, tons of fun. All right.
Yeah, a little bit of torque steer, but a good back road car. I speak from experience. All right, JP, another car I absolutely love. How cool is this thing? This is basically a one-owner, original 2004 Volkswagen R32. Basically, they took the JP, help me out. Is it the Mark V Volkswagen platform?
This is a Mark IV.
Mark IV,
Yep.
and they shoehorned in a boosted VR6 motor that made about 240 horsepower. It's all-wheel drive, 6-speed manual. They got the supplier Koenig to make these really cool, very heavily bolstered front seats. So the seats are very comfortable, but they feel almost like a racing bucket. Really neat. The exhaust is tuned. It has dual exhaust, and they have a beautiful little rumble on overrun. These cars sound good, they drive good, and they look beautiful. This one in the metallic black, and I think they only offered them in like 3 or 4 colors, JP. It was like a metallic blue, a red, and then like I think a light silver and the black. I think it was like 4 colors.
They had a yellow one too. Yeah, signal yellow one. I don't know if it was signal, but they definitely had a yellow one.
I want to contest that.
Guarantee it.
All right.
So in fact, I was looking at one just the other day, but yeah.
Okay, so but just a handful of colors. I was stunned to look back at this. JP, the original MSRP on this car was like $29,000. I mean, they really weren't that expensive. A Golf R today will set you back $50,000, which is crazy. But this car is 16 going on 17 years old. But again, this car, super cute car in the metallic black. It would take an enthusiast or a Volkswagen nut to immediately recognize that it's an R32 and not just a regular Golf or GTI. But one owner, 14,000 miles. I think this car is in for a huge finale. This would be a car we would want to cover if we could jump on. I think this car is going to have a run. There's a cult following to this car, and this one could bring a ton of dough. It's the right everything.
Yeah. The R32 is the hatchback of all hatchbacks. We talked about a Mark I GTI earlier in the week, last week. They kind of rolled together.
Last week,
which was kind of like the grandfather of these types of cars. But this car is really where it all came together the best. The current R is obviously a wonderful car too because it's in all its modernness. But the one thing that this car has that the current Golf R does not have is 2 fewer doors. You cannot get a GTI with 2 doors anymore. They're all 4 doors, or the Golf R. So it's like that sucks. A GTI should be 2 doors. A Golf R should be 2 doors, not 4. And the 4 doors are very functional. They're fantastic. They put all 4 of our fat asses, the professor, you, me, and our friend Kevin all got in that thing. But look, it should be difficult to get in and out of the back because that's the way a hot hat should be. This car it's the right amount of minimalism and a little bit of extra something to make it look cool because you can tell that it's an R32, like you said, if you know what you're looking for. And the Mark IVs are just the best platform. They had some electronic little niggly things that would go wrong with them here and there, and people lament about that. You will see the CEL light if you own this car, but that's not the end of the world. Wonderful, wonderful car, and in a black on black configuration, that's pretty darn rare. Usually they're the blue ones, and you see a lot of the dumb yellow ones too. So, but anyways, there it is. What do you think,
JP? I think this thing is going to go big. Do you agree with me before I give you my bid?
37 is pretty damn big already. I mean, and it's got almost 3 hours, to go.
Yeah, and it's in Carlsbad, California, and it's a one-owner car. I mean, like I said, this thing ticks every box you would be looking for to collect this car. And so I'm going to change my bid here. I wrote 45,000 last night. I'm going to really step on myself and go 50 grand. I think this car is going to absolutely stun. I think 45 was a good number, but I wouldn't be surprised if a couple people fight over this thing. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So I'm going to hang it out there, 50 grand, JP. What are you going to do?
God, with this few miles, where are you going to find something like this? I mean, I know our friend Zach, we've talked about him before. He has a blue one that he bought here and bring a trailer, a year ago or so. And I think he paid like 14 or something. Now, of course, it has a lot more miles, but I mean, $37,000 for a Mark IV Volkswagen? That's absurd. And had I looked at this, it'd be interesting if we did this show where we talked about the car the day the ads came out as opposed to the day the cars hit the block. Because our numbers would be way off. I never would have predicted that this thing would have found 37 grand. I would have been 30 would it be, and that'd be crazy. So I'm with you. I'm going to go high, but certainly not as high as you. I'm going to go 45. I think it finds another,
take my
$6,000
bid.
or $7,000.
Yeah, take my place. And then when you're right, I was right because that was my original bid anyways. But
fair enough.
You get the points.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Last car. Let's get dirty. We're going to stay on Bring a Trailer and go out to Plainview, Texas to check out what is a really cool car. As much as I love the little Defender 90s, I tell you what, JP, I'd save 50 grand and buy something like this 1963 88 Series 2A 4x4. These came in basically 4 different versions, John. So you had the gasoline engine in a convertible and what is essentially a wagon like our car here. And then they had a diesel convertible and then a diesel wagon. So this seems to be, by all accounts, the gasoline version of the wagon, and they removed the top, and then it's like a roadster. But that tire sitting up on the front like that, the vehicles, most of these Land Rovers came in like this, like off-white or like a yellow, or they came in like a light military green. And then there's kind of like an Aston Martin sort of like metallic blue-green or something. I just think one of these with the windshield folded down and the doors off, cruising around on a hot summer day or a spring day in Vegas, that would be like the absolute coolest car to rock around in. I've always loved them, and this one maybe a little rough for what I'd be looking for, but probably represents a tremendous value. And as such, it's a no reserve auction. Again, out of Texas. JP, true mileage unknown. I think there's no point in trying to guess. Yeah. It's just you take a look at it, and do you want to spend your money and your time hobbying on this car so that you can enjoy it from time to time and go anywhere? What do you think?
Yeah, you can go anywhere. You're not going to get there quickly.
No.
Yeah, you're right. With the top off on one of these, it's so fun. I mean, I wouldn't want one that's much nicer than this. I mean, the patina on this is spectacular. This is the way you want it to look.
So cool.
With just the right amount of just surface rust here and there and stuff like that. I can't remember what year they started putting synchros in the transmissions on these. So this may be a vehicle that you have to double clutch every time you shift. So it's just not going anywhere in a hurry. But who cares where you got to be? I mean, something like this, we talked about off-roading when we were talking about the Cayennes earlier, and this has this is the ultimate off-road vehicle. You're not getting anywhere fast, but you're going to just slowly climb over stuff and crawl over everything. They have narrow tires. They don't have big knobby tires so that they can sink down through the sand and get to some grip, or the mud or whatever. I mean, and they've got, real mechanical diff locks and stuff like that for the front and rear. So you're getting anywhere. And if it breaks, you can fix it with baling wire, duct tape, bubble gum, whatever you got. One of the most common vehicles on the planet, maybe not so much in America, but you
but everywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
These are incredible. There's a couple of shots this guy's got of his car out in the desert. It's like red desert sand and blue sky. And the vehicle, I mean, it's just, JP, it's iconic to me. I mean, it's an absolute icon, and Land Rover has made these cars, I mean, damn near a century. I mean, they're
you know what it is. I mean, iconic. I think, of course, and I think that word is obvious with something like this. But I think the word that really describes this thing more than anything is romantic. I mean, you are transformed into a different place if you're driving something like this. I mean, you just get your khaki shorts and a white shirt, and you could be timeless. I mean, this looks great right now, and a guy in a Raptor could blow by you, and he looks like a Jagoff, and you look so cool. I love this thing.
I agree with you. I love it. A great pick. Cool car. It's at JP again, no reserve auction out of Texas. Mm-hmm. It's at $8,963 on just 14 bids. It does have 3 hours to go. And I'm going to say that I think this car is going to sell. This is very specific, and I absolutely pulled it out of my back pocket. And I'm going to say $14,500.
That is a good bid, man. That is a very good bid. That puts me in a predicament because it's worth 15 grand, give or take 2 grand.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
These kind of hit the market. These used to be very expensive and hard to find, but now they've brought so many in from Spain and other places in Europe. Most of them are right-hand drive, so the right-hand drive ones are just like, who wants that? But people spent a lot of money fixing up right-hand drive ones. This is a left-hand drive one, so this is great. This is the one you want, but they're still just not bringing that much money. For 20 grand, you could get a really nice one. So you say 14.5. I'm going to say 15. I'm just going to go that 500 over and say maybe it finds just a little bit more because it is pretty cool. That's a long way to go. I should have said under, but
and JP, would you also say that if it were a diesel, it'd bring more money?
I don't. That's a tough call. I guess. I mean, a diesel's gonna have a little bit more torque, but I think a lot of people are gonna like the idea that it's a gas one just because it's the gas is easier to serve. And stuff like that. Okay. I mean, the power isn't really gonna make that big a difference.
No, it's not. Yeah, no.
So love this car. Love it. In fact, I kind of have one. That's another thing that we'll see sometime soon.
Let's do it.
Yeah, the Land Reaper. It's not a subtle one like this one. Let's put it that way. All right, guys. I don't get anything that's just basic. All right. Well, there it is. Another episode of Bid Nerds. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us. We do this every Monday through Friday during about the 9 o'clock hour-ish. We are your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer and whatever other automotive enthusiast auction sites happen to spring up. They're popping up like dandelions these days. We're going to cover the cool cars that pop up there, and make sure you subscribe, like, share, hit that notification button so you know when a new video comes out. But do you really need the notification? Because we're there every day, so come check us out. There it is. Michael Deeb, anything to say before we sign off?
No, man, we did it. We nerded out. We really nerded out today. That was a good show.